Welcome to Technically Marv, and technically, accessing your devices from anywhere should be easy. If you've ever tried to set up remote access to your Homelab and hit a wall, whether it was issues with port forwarding, CGNAT, or just this feels way more complicated than it should be, then this video is for you. Today, we're talking about Tailscale, and I'm going to show you how to get it up and running on Unraid in a way that makes sense. This is episode 1 of a new series I'm calling Homelab 101, which will cover Homelab basics. I'm building it for both beginners and experienced Homelabbers who want to pick up something new. If that sounds good to you, subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. Without any further ado, let's get into what Tailscale actually is. Tailscale is a zero-trust identity-based connectivity platform. It sits on top of the open-source WireGuard protocol, which provides modern, fast, and secure lightweight connections. Where WireGuard by itself requires you to manage keys and configuration manually, Tailscale handles all of that for you automatically. Here's how it works. Every device you add to your Tailscale account, your phone, laptop, Unraid server, all join what Tailscale calls a tailnet. You can think of this like a private network that exists across all of your devices, regardless of where they are physically. Your home server, your laptop in a coffee shop, your phone on its cellular network. They can all see each other like they're all on the same local network. No port forwarding, no static IP, and critically for those of you with an ISP that uses CGNAT, it works behind that as well. All right, let's get this set up. Head over to tailscale.com and sign up for an account. Don't worry, this is completely free. They do offer a paid tier, but for Homelab use, the free account is more than enough. Tailscale supports all of the major identity providers like Google, Apple, Microsoft, GitHub, and most others, so there are no new credentials to keep track of. I'm going to sign up with my GitHub account. Choose whichever identity provider that works for you. After authenticating with your identity provider, you'll be asked some survey questions. I suggest selecting personal or at-home use for the first and personal user for the second, but feel free to answer with whichever makes sense for you. After that, it will try to get you to add your first device. I suggest skipping this intro period for now, as there are some settings to change before we add any devices. Once all of that is done, you'll land in the admin console. It'll be empty for now, but this is where all of your devices will eventually live. One of the first things I like to do is to head over to the Settings tab and change the display name. Tailnet sets a default name based on whichever identity provider you use during signup. I'm changing mine to Technically Marv. Next, head over to the DNS tab and rename the tailnet to something easy to remember. You can't set an arbitrary name, but you can randomize the options until you find one you like. Trust me, this is definitely worth doing now before you add any devices. This is because the tailnet name becomes part of your magic DNS host names. I'm going to go with Lionfish Alkaline for mine. While you're here, I also recommend enabling HTTPS certificates for secure, trusted access. One important note though, the machine names in generated HTTPS certificates are published to a public certificate transparency ledger. If any of your machine names contain sensitive information, skip this for now. You can always edit a machine name before obtaining its certificate later. With that done, this is a great time to add your first devices. Head back over to the Machines tab and you can click Add Device or search for the app on your device's App Store. I'm going to add my phone and my MacBook. In your phone's App Store, search for Tailscale and install the application. After it's installed, follow the steps to add it as a VPN option on your phone. Once that's done, log in using the same identity provider you set up earlier. Once authenticated, you'll be asked if you want to connect this device to your tailnet. Hit the connect button and you've got your first device added. Within a few seconds, it should show up inside of your admin console as well. For your computer, download the application either from the admin console or your computer's app store. Once installed, log in with your identity provider of choice, and like the phone, it will show up in the admin console. With the account set up and a few devices on our tailnet, let's head over to Community Applications in Unraid and search for Tailscale. You want the official plugin with the Lime Tech banner. Once installed, head over to Settings, and there should be a new Tailscale icon under Network Services. Log in with your Tailscale account and click Connect to add your Unraid server to your tailnet. You should now see your Unraid server show up inside of your tailnet. Once that's done, we can head back over to Unraid. It'll show that you still need to log in. Just hit the refresh button and it should show up as connected to your tailnet. You'll also see this warning about a key expiring in a certain amount of days. We'll cover that later. You'll also find your server's name and IP here. You can use these to access SMB or NFS shares, Docker containers, and more from any device on your tailnet. Then head to Settings and select Management Access. You'll see a new section that says Tailscale URLs. These are the URLs you can use from any of your Tailscale devices to reach your Unraid WebGUI. I would advise bookmarking these on any devices you plan to use for remote access. Now, this next part is completely optional, but if you want to access your Unraid server by its regular LAN IP or reach your Docker containers by their own IPs, go into Tailscale in Settings and find the Advertised Routes section. You can add just your Unraid server's IP. In my case, that's 10.0.0.7/32. Or if you want to reach your entire home network, you'd enter your subnet, something like 10.0.0.0/24. In my case, I don't personally advertise the full subnet since my UniFi router handles that through its teleport VPN feature. But it's a great option if you want everything reachable in one shot. Hit apply to save the changes. Once that's done, head back over to the Tailscale admin console and navigate to the machines page. Find your Unraid server and approve the advertised route. Once approved, devices on your tailnet can reach your Unraid server and or LAN devices via their normal IPs. Now that the basic config is done and we can access the Unraid WebGUI from anywhere on our tailnet, let's talk about taking it a step further. Add in Tailscale directly to your Docker containers. Unraid makes this dead simple. Instead of giving Tailscale access to your whole server, you can give individual containers their own identity on your tailnet, which means more granular control over what's accessible and to whom. If you want to share access to Plex but not expose everything else, this is how you do it. And because it's built into Unraid's integration, the setup is almost entirely automated. To get started, head to the Docker tab and edit the container you want to add. We'll use Plex as the example here. Normally, you'd port forward the Plex port to enable remote access, which is actually still how I do it today, but I'm switching to T-Mobile Fiber soon and they use CGNAT, which means port forwarding won't be an option for me anymore, so this is the path forward. In the Plex container config, find the Use Tailscale option and flip it to On. You'll get a lot of new fields. The main one we care about is the Tailscale hostname, which is what this container will be called inside of your tailnet. I'll use Plex here. Leave the other options at their defaults for now. You can come back and tune those later. Before we apply, let me explain two options you'll see: Serve and Funnel. Serve makes the container's web interface accessible from your tailnet over HTTPS. No port forwarding and only your own Tailscale devices can connect. Funnel publishes it to the public internet with a unique URL, so anyone with the link can access it regardless of whether they're on your tailnet or not. Funnel is useful in specific situations, but should be used with caution since it exposes your service publicly. Hit the Apply button and let Unraid rebuild the container. Once the container is deployed, open the container logs and follow the link to register the container to your tailnet. Log in with the same identity provider you created earlier and connect the container. In the admin console, you should see the Plex container show up as a new device. Click into it and copy its URL or IP address. On a device connected to your tailnet, paste that URL in and you'll be able to access your Plex library from it. And that's it. Your Plex server now has its own presence on your tailnet and is reachable from any of your Tailscale devices. For those of you behind CGNAT, this is one of the cleanest ways to get remote access to Plex without any relay or third-party dependencies. One thing worth mentioning, you don't strictly need Tailscale for Plex behind CGNAT. Plex has its own built-in relay that works through CGNAT automatically with no setup. The cache is its bandwidth capped at around 4 megabits per second per stream, which is roughly 1080p. Fine for some situations, not ideal for others. Just wanted to point that out before someone mentions it in the comments. So that's two real-world use cases of how Tailscale is a great fit for any home labber. accessing your Unraid WebGUI and subnet remotely, and giving individual Docker containers their own tailnet identity. One more worth mentioning quickly is that you can configure your Unraid server as a Tailscale exit node. That turns it into a traditional VPN, routing all of your Tailscale devices' internet traffic through your home connection. Useful if you're on sketchy public Wi-Fi or if you want your traffic to appear to originate from home. Now, before I let you go, there are a few things to watch out for. First, off keys expire by default. When that happens, the device deauthenticates and you lose remote access. For a server that needs to stay connected, you can disable key expiry in the Tailscale admin console. Worth doing for Unraid specifically. Second, subnet routing is a two-step process. You advertise the route from the device, but it won't actually work until you approve it in the admin console. Easy to miss, especially for the first time. And third, Tailscale is not a replacement for Cloudflare tunnels. Tailscale is for private access to your own stuff. Cloudflare tunnels are for things you want to share publicly with the internet. They solve different problems, and you may end up using both like I do. And that's it. Tailscale, a mesh VPN running WireGuard under the hood. Works even when your ISP is making life difficult with CGNAT, and you can have it running on Unraid in under 10 minutes. If you set this up, try it out. Pull up your Unraid WebGUI from your phone with Wi-Fi off. That moment when it just loads and you can't help but smile to yourself? Yeah, I've been there. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to learn about in the next Homelab 101 video. If you found this video useful, hit that like button. If you know someone who could use it, send it their way. And if you want more videos like this one, subscribe so you don't miss my next amazing upload. Until then, I'm Marv, this is Technically Marv, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.